apologize for me being late. Thank you so much for being patient. There was an update that it was prompting me to do, and it was taking too long. So I went to the browser. So it took me a few moments to get through the browser. So thank you for waiting. And I appreciate you all wanting to speak with me today and taking the time to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's our pleasure to meet you.
Absolutely. So what can I do for you all today? I'm at your mercy. Whatever you need, I'm here to
Greetings,
answer any questions.
greetings, Dominique. Hello. Greetings, Dominique.
Greetings. Hello. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking.
So I'm Dr. Sundar from Adithya School of Business Management, Coimbatore in India.
Yes, sir.
So I heard you are from Maryland, right? And yeah, you are heading the Human Resource Department.
Yes, sir. That is correct. The company is based in Maryland, and
Okay.
I work remotely in St. Louis, Missouri. So I'm in Missouri. I'm actually in Missouri, but the company itself is based in Suitland, Maryland.
All right. That's really great. And it was 2007. I was in Maryland. The first time I landed in the United States.
Really?
It's a great old memory meeting you here, Dominique.
Oh, no, right? Absolutely. What a coincidence, for sure.
Yeah. Then I had a
Pleasure.
chance to work with Madam Pramita Lemon at Baxter Pharmaceuticals in Chicago. And when I meet you all, I remember, she was a business head over there. All these
wow.
great memories, I'm recalling it. Thank you so much for accepting our students' invitation and gracing today to share the HR practices which you practice for the decades and decades in your journey and in your different companies and portfolios. Maybe you could start sharing with your early life, how you get into the human resource field, and maybe this will be a great learning experience for our students.
Absolutely. So I'm going to be very vivid about how this all started. I worked
Before we get into that, and can we ask our student to give a little note of welcome?
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah. Shahid sir, it's over to you.
Yes, sir. A warm greetings to everyone. Welcome to ASBM's International HR Meet 2023, organized by Adithya School of Business Management, India. It's a wonderful day, and I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all present here. I welcome our Chairman Engineer C. Sukumaran sir and our Managing Trustee Praveen Kumar sir in their absence. I also welcome our respected Professor and Head of ASBM, Dr. N. Sundarapandian sir, for this event. I am super excited to have you all here and excited about all the amazing conversations that we are going to have today. Before we begin, joining us today is a person of virtue and simplicity, Mrs. Domonique Northington. Thank you for accepting our invitation, ma'am. She is the Human Resource Manager of Windjammer Environmental USA. She is an extensive leader dedicated to building trust and fostering an environment that supports diversity, drives cohesion, and delivers results. She has significant experience in investigations, engagement, learning and development, policies, and performance management. I encourage each of you to actively participate in the sessions, ask questions, and make the most of this virtual learning environment. I hope that this seminar enriches your understanding, ignites your curiosity, and inspires you to pursue excellence in all your endeavors. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you. Let us make the most of this HR Meet and embrace the opportunity to learn and grow together. Thank you. Let's start the session.
Thank you. Okay, so I started off in human resources many moons ago. I was a customer service representative at a call center, Western Union specifically. And there I was a shop steward, and I did a very good job as a shop steward. And I was constantly in talks or in touch with the labor relations manager. And he suggested that I get into human resources because I was so good at being a shop steward, being that liaison. So eventually, when they offered classes on site at the job at Western Union, they had a professor actually coming to the site, and they were teaching us classes that allowed us to go toward our undergraduate degree in human resource management. So that was very helpful. And eventually the program, they stopped coming on site, but we started going to the university. But nevertheless, I was able to acquire my undergraduate degree in human resources. And my first human resources job was as an HR manager at a nonprofit facility. And I worked there for a year and a half. And throughout that process, I learned a lot about recruitment, and I learned a lot about conflict resolution and engagement. And you'll notice when you get into the human resources field, it depends on where you're working in terms of what you are going to be exposed to. A lot of times you're touching a lot of aspects of human resources, everything from payroll to benefits, it just depends on the position itself and what the focus is. I have been fortunate enough to have been working in human resources to where I have touched every aspect of human resources: compensation, benefits, payroll, the entire gamut. And so I have been blessed very pleased to have done that, because not only have I touched every aspect of human resources, I've worked in different industries that have allowed me to touch those different facets of human resources. So everywhere I've worked, from healthcare, transportation, gas and utilities, and presently I am in the environmental health and safety sector. So it just depends again on where you are. When I was working in oil, gas, and utilities, for example, when I talk about the different, it depends on where you work and what you're doing. When I worked in gas, oil, and utilities, my focus in human resources as a generalist was investigations. That environment was an environment that kind of breeded investigations as a result of complaints of whether it be harassment or other issues. That was just an environment where that I kind of gained my chops, if you will, on how to address investigative claims and complaints and things of that nature. That environment also opened me up to learn so much about performance management, corrective action. So this is just kind of a broader view, a summary of my experience as an HR professional, where I've come from, and all the things that I've done within human resources. It has been it's been an up and down. I won't say struggle, but you're always faced with different challenges, which I believe they're specifically designated for you. On your life journey, you're going to run into different things that you have to deal with and face. And the same can hold true in your professional environment. So when you're faced with those challenging situations, you have to stop and think, okay, what is this teaching me? Instead of thinking, oh, why is this happening to me and it's not going my way and I don't understand. What is it teaching me? And what it has taught me is how to bridge the gap between people, have a true understanding for people. It's about reestablishing the human connection. We're getting away from that these days because of technology. We think that technology is bringing us closer together, but unfortunately, it is making us lack in our social skills and our social cues, the things that you can encounter with the person in person. If I were sitting with you all, instead of on this Zoom meeting, you could actually see more of my body language and my movement. You could feel my energy. You could feel the type of person that I am. And I'm trying to make that come through this medium. But you understand my point. As you go through human resources, you learn how to connect with people, and you learn that people are truly different. And you don't just use those tag phrases and keywords of diversity and inclusion and equity unless you're really going to practice it. Understand that people are different, and it goes beyond their color and their background and ethnicity. People work differently. People listen differently. They speak differently. They talk. When there's a language barrier, you must slow down, and you slow down and you listen carefully to that person, because they're articulating the language. Just because they're articulating the language a little bit differently than you doesn't mean that they're wrong. You just have to take the time to understand that difference, accept it, and get to the common goal. So I don't want to get so far off track, but I'm just really trying to summarize what it is to be a human resources professional. It's about putting aside your own perceptions of people and their behaviors, and it's about fact finding, understanding what it really is and not how you feel it to be. So that is how I have been able to be successful in my HR career, because I've always been able to understand the language of people, and not just the way, and we're not just talking language and what they speak, but how they live their life, how they work, and all of that. I make it my business to understand what their preferences are. How do they like to work? How do they like to be communicated with? Do they prefer emails, or would they prefer I just pick up the phone and call them, or send an instant message? Whatever the case may be, you have to understand that, and you have to align the people's preferences, employees, with the business. And it's very hard sometimes to walk that line between being that liaison between the business and the people, but understanding what the business's objectives and goals are, the mission and the values, tying that into your employees, tying that into their performance reviews and performance management, so that it can all be in alignment, and it can, because you're strategically bringing those together, and that will allow the business to coincide with the people and bring it all together, so to speak. I'm lack of a better word, but I feel like I'm talking too much. Do you all have any questions so far?
It was so wonderful, Dominique. I know managing people is not just merely about doing the job. It's about understanding their feelings. That's really a great inspiration from you. That's why you are, heading the department and doing great. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's get into the questions now, one by one.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
This is Akash. Ma'am,
Hello.
how long have you been working for this company?
I've been working with Windjammer. It'll be 2 years in June as an HR manager. So yeah, not a long time, but long enough to understand the business and the people. 2 years.
Good.
Greetings, ma'am. This is Deepak. Ma'am, can you share an overview of your company organization structure and how the different departments interact with each other?
Can you repeat that for me once again? I'm so sorry. It kind of cut you off at the end.
Ma'am, can you give an overview of your company organization structure and how the different departments interact with each other?
I got you. So there's an overview of the company itself. What Windjammer Environmental does is we basically, anything that will pose a hazard to human health, we address that. So it could be asbestos, checking for asbestos in vents. It could be collecting water samples, or, even if it means climbing into a hole or up on a roof, just to make sure that there is nothing that is posing a hazard to human health. It's a safety company that provides like consulting services to different government entities to provide people to go on site and then check for asbestos or anything that could be causing any air quality issues or anything like that for its employees. So within human resources, this company is smaller. Therefore, within my department, it's just me. I am the sole person handling the payroll, the benefits, everything. I do not have any direct reports. So if it's anything that has to be done administratively that maybe an HR specialist would do, I do it. If there's anything that a generalist or a recruiter would have to do, I do it. So it's just me. I shouldn't say unfortunately, it's just me, because with me having to touch all that, it helps me learn that much more. So my department is comprised of just me. But I have worked in other environments. My previous position, if you looked at my resume or my LinkedIn profile, Milestone Equipment, I was one of 3 people in the human resources department. So, if you needed me to go into that, I could, but I just wanted to give you an overview and answer your question directly about what Windjammer does and what I'm doing here as the HR manager. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's really
Yes, ma'am.
great, Dominique. Yes, I understand. The one thing I want to ask you, HR manager is a strategic partner, people call it today.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see that?
Yeah, I think it's an overly used buzzword, if I can be honest. But if I can answer, I will answer the question though. If you're a strategic partner, that means that you're making sure, like I mentioned earlier, that business's mission, their core values, that they all align with those employees' preferences, the policies, the whole nine. So when you're creating policies and things of that nature, and you're making sure that the employees are in alignment, you're a strategic HR partner with that business, because you're making sure that business is in alignment with the employees' goals, and you're making sure that those employees' goals are in alignment with the business. And you're walking that fine line to make sure that it stays that way. So that is what an HR or a strategic HR partnership is to me personally.
Yeah, fine. So you have a culture, right? Your corporate has a culture, your company has a culture to go with. And when you go for a new recruits, how do you ensure what kind of activities you do to make your new employees adapt with your culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it starts from the beginning. From the time you recruit them, you're posting that position to make it be known, this is what our company values, this is who we are. But then you're also demonstrating it when you're recruiting them and you're interviewing them. You're telling them what they can expect with the role. Once they are hired on, it's important as that because you're the ambassador for the business. When you hire them on, you have to stay in communication with them. So communication is key. And you're making them feel like they're a part of the family from day one, before day one. You're checking in maybe 2 weeks later, once that background check and everything is cleared. You're checking in with them to see if they need anything. You're double checking. Maybe, what's your favorite color? Do you like to drink coffee or tea? I may send you a mug or some stationery and a pen. You really want to connect with that person before they start the job, so that they know and feel like they are truly a part of your family or culture. I don't like to say family because sometimes people misinterpret that, and it's not genuine. I always want to be authentic. So if you're a part of the fold, the company itself, it's just about bringing them in and making them feel like they are truly a part of the team. And once they get on, it's like, hey, these are the expectations of your position. You're going to lead these individuals, and then also creating like a career path for them. They may want to develop in their skills a little bit more, and perhaps getting a career path going for them within their first 90 days of employment. You're not only a lot of times it's a probationary period, but it's also a good time for them to get to know you and decide if they want to stay. Do everything you can so that they will stay, and make them know that you are invested in their future. It's not just a fly by night. It's truly an investment, and it's a mutual investment in a mutually beneficial, relationship.
Yeah, that's really good. Great answer from you, Dominique. I learned that if you don't take care of the people for 2 weeks when they join or on board, and the high possibilities of leaving you is going to be high. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah.
You have to show them that you are human, and that they're not just another person and not another body. It's like, okay, you're a person, and your favorite color is blue. Great. Like I said, I may buy you a blue mug or a blue pen or whatever the case may be. I'm connecting with you so that you feel seen and heard. That is very important to do from the start. And then also making sure they have all their access, everything, to where they can just walk in the door and they're ready to go, instead of that first day feeling awkward, twiddling their thumbs. I don't know what I'm going to do. Who do I talk to? You need to have that guidance, and you need to be organized before they start, so that when they come in, they know that you got your stuff together and they didn't just walk into some firestorm. That's important.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dominic. And the other side, I look at it, the job analysis you all do as HR manager, right?
Yes.
Yeah, when you do job analysis, you will have to band their job roles, right, or grade job roles like a top grade or medium grade, supervisory grade, or labor grade, or something. You grade it or you band it. So what is the practice you follow in your organization, or you have followed earlier in your previous organization? Maybe you could throw some lights, enlighten on on that particular part for our understanding.
Yeah, basically understanding what the level is, like you pointed out. If like earlier, I talked about like an HR specialist or coordinator. That's like an entry level or administrative role. And then like a generalist would be more like mid-level. A generalist or an HR business partner would be more mid-level. Senior level would be an HR, manager or director. Understanding where and it depends on the organization on how you're going to layer it. Because some organizations are multi-layered and they're kind of top heavy, where they might have a VP, a director, a manager, and then a supervisor and so forth. So if your organization is that big to where it will accommodate those different levels, then yes, absolutely, it's fine. But when you have an organization like ours that is only, barely 50 employees, it makes more sense to just have it at that one level, especially with a human resources. But we have other departments, for example, project managers, right? We have project managers that are going on site to do what they need to do. And then we have the program managers who oversee, or the project managers report to the program manager. So we just determining based on what the skill set is and what the responsibilities are, we're just leveling or grading those positions by the level. And it is determined by their level of responsibility. So then in our organization, program manager, project manager, and then you have like a project coordinator. So just if that kind of gives you an idea, and then you're analyzing what they're doing, and if that project manager is doing a little bit of extra, and then they come to you around performance review time and they're like, hey, I need a raise because I'm doing far more than that job description is saying, then you're going to reanalyze and see if it really merits for that position to be reevaluated and maybe renamed, or just give that person the increase that they deserve. It's making those determinations as well.
It's kind of more flat organizations than tall organizations, I think currently is followed, right? So It's like just project-based we follow, right? Project-based matrix kind of structure. They report, multiple departments and they complete. End of the day, the results are so important than anything else, right? Result-driven, performance-driven, culture evolve. Yeah?
Yes, correct. You see how it's all connected? It's all tied together in a sense.
So, any questions from you, students? I think
Yes,
Ms. Dominique is
ma'am.
throwing a lot of insights. Yes, go ahead and ask.
Greetings, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
What are the main sources of recruitment in your company, ma'am?
Repeat that again, please.
What are the
Sources
main
of
sources of recruitment?
Sources of recruitment. Yeah.
Main sources of recruitment. I got it the second time. Thank you so much. Well, our main sources of recruitment, I do a lot of sourcing on LinkedIn. I also we have like certified industrial hygienists. That is another position within our company. And they're hard to find, especially in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, because it's so heavily saturated with government entities where people are already working. So what I do is I go to the, look, I have to write it down, AIHA. So the American Institute of Hygienists Association, American Industrial Hygiene Association. That's it. Sorry. So what I do is I go to that professional organization and I find candidates through that. And I will source them and I'll reach out and say, hey, are you looking for work presently? That's one way where we're doing it kind of on the flip side, instead of just posting a position and expecting those individuals to apply or respond to those openings. When you're sourcing people for recruitment, sometimes you have to find them, especially in those more niche or unique positions. You're gonna find that you're not gonna always just post a position and then people just magically appear or magically apply. Not in this day and age. You kind of have to go out and vet for those employees, and you try to find out where they are. And even if they don't really, if they're like, hey, I'm good, I'm working for a government entity, I make good money, my benefits are on par. You have to find ways to entice them to want to come over to your department, to your company. What about your company is going to make them want to join you after being at a government facility for 10, 15 years? What can you offer them that the government facility cannot? So you have to know your company, and you have to know the great things and the perks about your company that will make it appealing to potential candidates to come over. So that is one of the avenues that I use. I use, like I said, LinkedIn, of course, Indeed, and most of those popular job sites where you're posting the positions. But yeah, when I have to go and look for them, I'm going to those professional, those membership organizations where you can find a lot of good talent.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I just want to ask something about employee perks and benefits.
Mhm.
What kind of employee perks and benefits do you think are necessary to keep the employees engaged and motivated?
I think, you know what? That's a very good question. And I always think about the climate that we live in, like what makes people want to come to a job. They want to have a good amount of paid time off. They want to have good benefits. They want to, and some people, it may not be as important to some because, again, the ages are changing and people are changing. But some people appeal to 401k matches, or retirement plans. But again, that's an older audience. Some of the young people aren't thinking about retirement. They're more or less like, hey, how many days off can I get? And you have to be ready to negotiate in that offer phase, because some things that you may not be advertising as a perk or a benefit may have to come up so that you want them to join your company. So they may say, hey, you're only offering 2 weeks of PTO. I would like you to consider giving me 3 weeks, and consider those items. And those are things that can easily be factored into the equation. So perks really depend on the employee. So it's important when you're vetting them to say that, have that conversation, the first conversation. So if I'm talking to a government employee that I'm trying to bring over to Windjammer, I'm going to say, hey, what would make you leave the veteran affairs to come over and work with us? And if they say, well, absolutely nothing, but they're talking to me on the phone. So there's a reason why they even return my call. So there's something that's making them passively interested. And I just have to find out what that is and then work to make it happen for that person, because it's customizable. What works for one will not work for everyone. So does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Speak louder, please. Not audible.
Audible?
Yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
So, do you prefer to manage the entire recruitment function, or do you get outsourced assistance?
Okay, I'm having some trouble on my end. Can you repeat that once again? I'm so sorry.
Okay. Do you prefer to manage the entire recruitment function, or do you get outsourced assistance?
Do I prefer to manage the internal recruitment process?
Yes. Do you prefer to go for your internal recruitment, or you prefer to go for outsourcing the recruitment to the agencies? Yeah.
Thank you for repeating that. And again, I have connection issues, so please, my apologies for that. Internal, I prefer to promote from within. But of course, when you can't find that talent and it's not for the particular, when you can't promote from within and you go externally, third party, I will use a third party if I'm in a pinch. So I mentioned earlier using AIHA for certain positions. And if I can't find anyone through them, then yes, I will consult with a third party, like a temporary or staffing agency, if you will. Those are hefty fees that come with that. And you have to think about where your budget is. Does it make sense to use that third party? Because sometimes when that third party helps you, you pay such a big price and overhead and for the finder's fee that you're defeating the purpose. It will exhaust your budget. So I do use a third party in a pinch, but I prefer to do it all myself. Or again, we try to promote from within. We try to take that project coordinator who may decide that they want to become a certified industrial hygienist and get them certified and work with them to develop them. And of course, there's still a need, but if we have a client that is willing to work with us and develop that person to where they can eventually become that certified industrial hygienist, it takes time. And if they have that time, then yes, but it just depends on the circumstances. And you'll find that in human resources, you're really going to have to adapt and understand what circumstances will allow for a third party, sourcer or temporary agency, staffing agency, or otherwise. So there are many options to it. It just depends on the circumstances.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Hi, ma'am. This is Saron.
Hello.
I would like to ask you that how do you motivate yourself when faced with some tedious task?
Yeah. Well, I'm very fortunate, you all, because I work remotely. Like I said, I'm in Missouri, but the company is based in Maryland. I am very fortunate when I have tedious tasks, which I hate. I'm at home, so I can turn on some soft jazz music that will relax me, and then I just get focused and I take care of it. Now, when I was in the office, I did work on site at my previous position. And when I had to focus on the tedious tasks, I kind of did the same thing. I would put my earplugs in and take the music that would keep me, I would work on different frequencies, like a 432 frequency to keep my mind level. And I would just go because that music is just it's calming me down instead of giving me all this angst about this horrible work I got to do, right? So I basically distract myself in order to get the job done. My approach is to handling those more tedious tasks. Does that help?
Yeah, that's really wonderful. Yeah, great. Going. But at the end of the day, the jobs should be done, right? Getting things done is so important.
It is. Yes. They're literally depending on you because you're supporting them. You have to get it done.
Yeah.
You have to get it done whether you want to or not.
Dominique, I have a query actually. I have seen from the various research articles and, most of the companies in the world, including United States of America, so they are facing problems in retaining good talents, right talents.
Yep.
So how do you see it as a HR from your perspective? Yeah.
That's a good question. And I would like to look at it more optimistically, but the companies need to change in America. Corporate America is very one-sided and they're still operating on a very old system. They have not gotten with the new times. We had this pandemic where a lot of people were able to work remotely. They found out who they were. They found out their worth, and they weren't taking that bad treatment from these companies anymore. And so now the companies are still operating on that old rule, like, hey, we've got this great job, come work with us. And they're thinking that payment alone is enough. And it isn't. Again, we have to get back to the basics, and we have to let people know that we care about you as people. What do you want? We really want to know what you want so that we can cater to those preferences and needs so that we can continue to work together. So in terms of retention, I think that we're going to have to do better as a country, as a corporation, to be more diverse and understand people's differences and recruit people that are outside of what we're used to, and understand and really like truly, instead of just using the diversity, equity, and inclusion buzzword, actually adopting that as a practice for your everyday business and for your people. So it's really, it goes back to the people. If you want to retain them, understand who they are and what they want. Do your surveys. Sometimes you have to survey people and say, hey, right now, what would make you leave? What's going on? What's going to make you leave? What's going to make you stay? What can we do to improve? So it's connecting. That engagement piece is what I talked about. Engaging with your employees. You can't just send a bunch of emails. You have to understand who they are and what they want. So I can't say that enough. It's just really about the human connection. Keep that going. That's the only way you're going to keep people, because they're just disinterested now. They're not staying on board for poor treatment. Treat them well. Develop them. You know, give them a future with you instead of just saying, hey, you get a paycheck every couple of weeks. What more do you want? No, they want a lot more than that. And understanding that and catering to it is what's important.
That's really wonderful, wonderful.
Thank
Ma'am,
you.
thank you, Dominique. So how do you see this succession planning, finding out the future stars of your business and training them to take care the future arising leadership roles?
Yeah.
How do you find that succession planning, and how do you plan your succession planning activities, with your organization?
Yeah. Yes, you meet with those big managers. You meet at the top with the top managers and say, hey, who are your star players? Like you just pointed out. Find out who your star players are. And even I like to say, okay, well, who's not such a great star? And what can we do to develop them? But if we're sticking with the stars that have that great leadership and they got good things going for them, we're understanding a development plan for them. Okay, you want to take this person from a project manager to a program manager. What does it look like? I'm asking that program manager, what does it look like? How are you going to invest your time and be a mentor to them to where they can actually take on your job when you leave? Whether you leave from retirement or you leave for a better opportunity, what is going to put them in a position, set them up for success to where they can do that? And a lot of times it's really just either mirroring them on the job or taking over some tasks for that program manager to see if they're mature enough or if they are competent enough to handle those duties, those additional responsibilities. So additional responsibilities, competencies, and that training, I think those are three core things that you have to look at when you're doing succession planning, but it's really just meeting with them. And then of course, making sure that just because that program manager may have told you about that star, make sure that that star is in alignment with it too. Like, hey, do you really want to be promoted from within, or do you really want to move and step into this role? If so, this is what it's going to take. So you're expressing that level of expectation to all parties on all levels so that everyone is in agreement. And then you find out the plan of action to get them where they need to be, and then you execute it.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for the answer. Yes, any questions from you guys?
So my question is, if an employee is underperforming, how do you handle that situation?
Yeah, you really have to address it and let them know that they're underperforming first. Many times we don't tell them. We just get angry with them. Not me personally, I'm just talking in general. But it's like, okay, this person isn't performing well. And then that's when the manager comes to human resources and they expect us to just wave our magic wand and make something happen. And it just doesn't, if you're not properly communicating with that employee to tell them that your performance is not up to par, how will they know? So the first thing is communicating that, hey, what's going on? I noticed that your numbers went down, or whatever the case may be. Is something going on that I can help you with? If they share that it is, then you're working with them to try to make it better to improve their performance. That's if it's something that is not work related, right? But from a professional standpoint, if they say, hey, this system is keeping me down, this system is slowing me down, it's not working for me, then you're looking at all aspects of it to see what the problem is. That's root cause analysis. You're finding out the root of the problem to figure out a solution, or to try to identify a solution. And that underperformance could be for a number of reasons. So you must find out what is causing them to underperform. And then you work with them to make them better, and you give them time to get better. I think corrective action is really truly a last alternative. It's a last resort thing. You really have to work with people first. But if they are, adamantly not following the rules and just slacking, so to speak, just because they can, then you got a problem. And then, yes, corrective action is necessary. But if they're truly struggling with the system because of training that they got that was pretty horrible, or they just didn't get any training, find out what the problem is first and give them the benefit. Always give the benefit of the doubt. And then, you can get to the where you need to be in terms of understanding what they need.
Ma'am, how do you handle the employee relationship and conflict resolution? Is there any specific protocol or approach you followed, ma'am?
Employee relationships are important. I think that when you understand how people are working with each other, how they're communicating with each other, that's important. Again, it's fact finding. So if you come to me and you say that, that your classmate is giving you a hard time, and I just take your word for it, that's not enough. I need to understand, what do you mean by a hard time? And then I need to talk to your classmate to understand, well, what is the problem that you have, with Deepak? Like, what is going on here? So you have to understand each person's side of the story, hear it out, and then you make the determination from there. Because you can't always tell people, okay, you guys figure it out. There's a difference in personalities, figure it out. No. In a lot of cases, you have to really hear people out, understand where they're coming from, respect their side of the story, but then you also come with a resolution, because as an HR professional, you have to. So you really have to look at yourself, and to just be honest with you all, you're like a principal in a school. People are going to come to you with problems, and then you have to find ways to solve them, like ethically and professionally and tactfully. So when you're presented with a problem, don't get emotionally invested. Don't take sides. Hear them out. Show your human side that you care. And then go to the other side. However many sides occur or exist, address each person's perspective. And then you work to find a solution for everyone. And you bring everybody together if you can, and just say, okay, here's our problem. Let's work together on how to fix it. And sometimes it is some arguments that may take place. As long as some people are heard and they can keep it at the right level, sometimes it's necessary. People have to be heard out. It just depends on the situation. But how I prefer to handle that is my approach to conflict resolution. Letting people know that, hey, I heard you out and I'm listening. Let me talk to the other party, see what's going on. It may be other factors in the equation that you may be unaware of as a human resources person, professional. Realize that too. People often hide many details, pertinent details that would help you out. So always, I can't say this enough, find the facts, and then you can determine your solutions from there. And don't let people pull you into their crap. Don't let them pull you into their emotions and all of that. You must remain neutral at all times, and understand that, hey, I'm here to solve the problems. I'm not here to take sides. And it's easier said than done a lot of times, but it's definitely doable. Does that help to answer your question?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, what are the different types of training and development programs conducted in your company?
We don't have any set training and development for this particular company. I'm going to talk about my previous company when I worked at Milestone. We had, because they were more robust, we had Cornerstone, which is a learning management system where you could go in and you could, find different modules like Excel intermediate Excel, and you could take a course on that. And it may take you about 3 or 4 hours at the most, but you could break it up. And there's those online courses. You also can find them at your local, here in America, obviously, you can go to community colleges that offer like continued education learning for different software programs. If it's communication, LinkedIn Learning has a lot of really great modules. I have also, in my previous job, I've taught classes myself in change management. I've taught managers on how to better coach their employees. I've taught managers on performance management. So it just depends. And if you're going to design the course yourself, just make sure you have all your ducks in a row, you have all your information, that it's on point. But if you're not, and you're going to rely on like modules and online learning sources, which are very helpful, you just find the right one. As long as it's within your budgetary constraints, then you can find great courses that you can assign to individuals, and they can go from there. And then when they're done, you can always do your own little test to make sure that they've retained what they need to. So there are many learning tools and resources that you can tap into. There's a lot out there on the internet that you can find, but it can be either, like I said, online learning or instructor-led training. It just depends on what is most effective. What you find will be most effective for your organization or company. And does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Dominique.
Thank you.
Hi, ma'am.
Yes.
How do you measure the impact of employee training, ma'am?
Great question. So what I did in my previous role, when we were done with the training courses, we would give them a quiz. It wasn't just the quiz that was through the online learning. We would ask the questions. Like when we finished up our change management and coaching courses, we would go back and ask a set of questions to make sure that they retained what was taught. And then not only and that would happen like right after the training, right? But then about 3 months later, we would go back and ask the same questions and check in with them and see how they're doing. And you know whether or not they're doing well because it shows in their leadership. Their employees will tell you. So it's not that the employees will say, oh, well, no, Nancy didn't do what she was supposed to do in the training. They're just going to say, well, no, her leadership she's still not communicating effectively. She's still not being an effective coach to me when I'm going through something. So you learn from their performance. That is how you measure it. But if you want a measurable tool that you can see right then and there that's tangible, you can do that quiz right after the training and then again follow up in 2-3 months. But you're also watching their performance along the way to make sure that they have an understanding of it. And you continue to give refreshers as you need to, whether it be one-on-one coaching or whatever the case may be. You just make sure that people are on their A game as much as possible and just continue to provide those resources and tools that they need. Does that answer your question?
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
What is the
Yes.
most difficult question, most difficult decision that you have taken in your life?
Oh, I had to fire my own boss on my birthday. That was about, right? Yeah, that was the most difficult. And that was in 2012. So that's been a minute, but it was my first job that I was telling you about when I was an HR manager. And my boss, or I don't like to say boss, my manager, she was the CEO of the company. And she was doing some unethical things that had to do with the employees' pay. And I found out about it. I brought it to her attention. She denied it. And she wanted me to go and tell these employees that their rate of pay was different and it was just all unethical and it was wrong. And I didn't know what to do. I lost sleep over it and I just was afraid to act. I was like, I'm going to lose my job because my boss is not doing the right thing. And at the end of the day, I had to do what was right for everyone, not just me. Those employees who were being affected by her dishonesty, I had to go to the board. And these are things I don't recommend in terms of you don't just do it just because. I had no other option. I had no one else to go to. So I had to go to the board because obviously my boss was the person who was dishonest. The board had to let her go. So they said, well, okay, we know you have tomorrow off for your birthday, but you don't anymore. So come in and please, discharge her and you can leave afterward. But I didn't because there were so many things that I had to handle that were associated with the termination. But letting go of the very person that hired me for my first HR job was the hardest thing of my career that I had to do. But I did it for the right reasons I wanted to uphold my ethical standards personally, professionally. And I didn't want others to be at a disadvantage because I was looking out for myself. So it was a self-sacrificing thing, but in the end, it worked out. I didn't lose my job. I eventually, resigned from that position about 6 months later, but in the end, I did the right thing. So but that was hard. That was a very difficult circumstance.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, what is your favorite aspect of working as a HR?
Yeah. My favorite is really just getting to know the people. I enjoy that very much. And you said what's my favorite aspect of the job? Is that correct? Was that the question?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's getting to know the people and like people who are leery of you from the beginning when you start, because you're in human resources and people already don't feel, they're not big fans of human resources because they think that we're all about the company, we don't care, etc. But when you're able to change the minds of people by your actions and change their perceptions, their poor perceptions of human resources because of your actions, because you're approachable, you care, you're in contact with them. So I enjoy changing the people's minds so that they know that, hey, I'm not an enemy, I'm an ally, and I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. So I just enjoy getting to know people, learning about them. If you had a new baby, you just recently got married, you got a new apartment, whatever. I'd like to learn those things about people so that they know that they're seen and they know that they're heard. So those are the aspects that I enjoy most.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you share how the company can stay and update with the HR trends and best practices? If there is any professional development opportunity for the HR staffs?
Yeah, with my current company, there isn't any like profit sharing that is offered, unfortunately. And again, that's common with a smaller company, but a lot of companies will offer that, which is a huge benefit. And that answers the question from earlier about perks. Profit sharing is a big deal. People want to have an investment in that company if anything happens. So that is a huge deal. But that isn't offered in my present company, unfortunately. Was there another part of your question that you had that I missed?
Ma'am, is there any professional development opportunity is guidance for the HR staffs?
So you mean career
Yes.
development plans, your career development plans for your employees?
Yes, we have those individual development plans for those new employees as they go, and then of course throughout the course of their employment cycle. When they start, we're doing that like assessment, if you will, within 30 days of their employment to see what they want to do and where they want to go. And then we find the resources to see if they work with their schedules and their preferences. And then we roll it out and we make them stick to it. And it's not a bad thing, but it's just, it's a very good thing. So yes, definitely have those career development plans. Those are a big deal. So if you're ever in human resources, make sure that that's a big part of your onboarding, because that's another thing that's going to let people know that they're a part of your team and that they're a part of, that's another way to integrate them into your culture to get them going on an individual development plan that works for them.
Thank you, ma'am.
Of course.
I think we are getting to the time. It's 1 hour almost. We don't know how the time flies. See, it's really great inspiration from Domonique. Northington. It's really, really great, experience you have shared with our students. We are really, really grateful to you. And that one last thing I would like to ask you, right? How do you keep your energy up all the time, even the morning today, when you started, and you may have a lot of plans running in your mind. I see the way you smile and you keep your energy up. That's one of the great kind of qualities people manager or the human resource manager should hold. And you are such a person, that's really, really a great kind of energy transformed to all of us, especially to our students. Yeah.
Thank you. That's so humbling. I just, you know what? I know that this is an honor. That's what I was telling Shah. It's just like, or is it Shahid or Shah? What is your first name, dear?
Shahid
It's
Shah.
Shah.
Shahid Shah.
Shah.
Yes.
Thank you, Shahid. Shahid. Okay, that's what I was telling him. It's such an honor that you all look to me of all people. You had many profiles and you chose me. So that's a big deal to me. I have also been a student where I wish that I could have spoken to someone. I was trying to do the same thing when I was in school, but people were blowing me off. No one would help me and they wouldn't talk to me. So I remembered that and I said I would never do that to anybody else. So when he reached out to me, I'm like, hey, here's my chance. So I'm honored. I'm excited. I know what it's like to get into human resources. It's not going to be easy. It took me 7 years, you all, 7 years to get in human resources. But because I didn't give up, here I am, right? I just want you all to be encouraged and don't let all the no's disappoint you, because it's just basically the right yes will come along. So I'm a very positive person and I like to keep that. I like to impart positivity to others because that energy transference is important. It's real. And no, I'm not always so happy-go-lucky, but I am still, for the most part, very positive, and I want to give good things to you and good advice, good fortune, blessings, peace. I want to say all that good stuff. So I'm honored that you all have chosen me to speak with you today. It's been truly great to get to know all of you. Your questions are excellent. And you make me feel, you've made me feel very good as a professional and as a person today. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Wow, that's really wonderful, wonderful compliment to our Shahid sir today.
Yes, absolutely.
Ma'am,
Thank you.
I want to say a big thank you for you, ma'am, for connecting with me, giving replies to the messages. Really thank you from my heart.
Absolutely. All the best to all of you. God bless you all, because I want what's best. I know you all will do great. You had some phenomenal questions. So just know that if you stay positive and motivated, know who you are and what you got, you're going to go so far. You guys are going to do great. And if I can help in any way, please know I am more than happy to do so for each
Thank
and
you so
every
much,
one.
Dominique. Thank you
mean
so
that.
much, Dominique. May God bless
You're
you
welcome.
too. God bless you too. Take care.
Thank you all.
You know,
You all take care. Have a good day.
Yeah, good day. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Take care.